Good afternoon, this is ACJ Newsline and today we will be discussing the sexual violences against women. In our panel we have
I'm Sumedha,
Vaishali,
Sonakshi
and Soumyajit.
In the recent events, a 23-year-old woman was raped near the Deer Park in the Horsekhas village where she was coming out of a restaurant at 12:30 am. In the latest update we have been told that the suspect was a minor who has been caught by the police and is being investigated right now.
A similar incident of sexual assault has been witnessed in Kerala, where an actress was travelling on her way back from Thrissur to Kochi after her shoot. She was abducted and sexually assaulted by a gang of 7 men. So in the past few days, she's been receiving immense support from the Malayalam industry. And the latest update regarding this issue is that the 4th person out of the 7th is arrested, and the main accused is still absconding, who is Pulsar Sunil.
Recently, the Bombay High Court has ruled that an intoxicated woman's consent for sex will be invalid. This ruling was given in a case where 3 men accused of gang raping the woman had applied for bail.
Across the world, in the Silicon Valley in California, Susan J. Fowler, engineer who has worked previously at Uber, has accused the organization of sexual harassment in the workplace in her blog. Now, the whole account has not been verified or validated, but it raises serious concerns about women's safety in the workplace.
Continuing from where you've left off, women's safety not just in the workplace but generally any public space, access to public space in all of these becomes a very valid issue. In most of the cases, especially in the Delhi case, the first questions that arose in the media were what was she doing so late out at night, was she intoxicated? Similarly, in the Pune case where the Bombay High Court gave this ruling, the first line of defense was, oh, she consumes alcohol, she's sexually promiscuous, so you never know what she's saying, what is the validity of her statements, of her claims. So I think that is an important issue to be discussed where sexual violence against women is concerned, because the victims are always put on the stand and all their life choices are questioned.
Yeah, similarly in the Uber case, it was the Susan J. Fowler who was said by the HR department that she needs to consider whether she wants to transfer to another engineering team, because she was said that as she has complained to the HR department, she should expect a bad review from her immediate supervisor.
Yeah.
And even though the interaction between the two in the chat where she was propositioned by the man was proven to be a sexual advance, it was the company HR said they would not be comfortable taking any serious action against him, because it was apparently his first offense, even though she went around and talked to other people and found out it was not. And it was and the person was apparently a high performer, so yeah,
Which is why they were reluctant to take any action. This was also seen in the Stanford rape case, where Brock Turner, who was the main accused, was let off with a 6-month sentence, which was then later reduced to 3 months because of good behavior. He was charged with sexual assault and rape of a young woman who was intoxicated and unconscious. A lot of questions were raised about her alcohol consumption and sexual promiscuity again, and one of the major reasons why Brock Turner was given such a low sentence was because he was a varsity swimmer hoping to reach the Olympics, and his father said that it would be a shame if Brock Turner never reached the Olympics. He was also termed as the media covered him as an all-American swimmer, while the woman was termed as an intoxicated woman.
I mean, how does it matter if the man is like a high performer or Olympic level champion?
Yeah.
You are committing an offense.
Exactly. The idea here is consent.
Yeah.
The main issue becomes consent, which is not in all of these cases, which is very important. Even in the Delhi case, if you'd like to elaborate about that.
In the Delhi case, I think the major thing is about the consent. So here we have a little botched up facts, and when the news came out, it was more like when the accused was following the victim and he offered a lift and she accepted the offer, and then so on and so forth, she was assaulted. But then in the CCTV camera, in the latest updates, the police said that in the CCTV camera, both the accused and the victim go inside the restaurant. They come out together, and they are seen leaving together out of that restaurant. So, but the point here again remains, the consent to have dinner with that person was given.
Does not translate to
exactly.
have sex
It does not translate into having sexual intercourse with that person.
Yeah.
So was that consent given or not? That has to be established.
Now that we've all talked so much about reputation, considering reputation with regard to a film industry, there had been 3 incidents of sexual assault that had happened in the past in the Malayalam industry, but they were not reported considering the reputation. So if offences like these go unreported and the offenders are left unpunished, what is the future of crimes being committed? So this incident, now that it has gained enough recognition in the media, I think has to be taken further, and the guilty must be punished, setting an example for all the rapists out there committing such offences.
Actually, there is a thing called SOR, Serial of Offenders. I don't think so it has been implemented as of now, because the fact that you were discussing earlier, it would put them in picture and it would risk them having a career or a future.
Exactly.
So which is why it is not being implemented, but it is Menaka Gandhi and people as such are actually pushing towards it.
A registry of sex.
Yeah, registry.
Again, this brings us to the fact of media hypocrisy, where we put the victim on trial over and over again. The burden of proof again falls on the victim. You have to, it starts from first reporting the crime and goes on till the very end, where you have to continuously repeat what has happened, go through the trauma of the situation over and over again, and all of the victim's life choices are brought into the limelight. Everything is questioned. So I think that's a major thing where we need to examine the representation of women in the media, how these cases are portrayed in the media, all of that. In the Kerala case also.
Even in this case, as soon as the case was registered, it was filed by the actress, some of the news agencies had released the image and name of the actress. According to law, it is illegal to reveal the image and name without their consent. So again, media is breaching the privacy of the victim here. And again, you see a lot of these being committed by the media agencies every now and then, where the victim is being blamed for everything that has happened.
It's every adult's right to conduct themselves however they please. The issue here becomes going back to access to spaces, the right to take decisions. Anybody's decision to go out at a certain point of time or consume alcohol or certain foods should not be brought into question. That isn't what is the cause of the sexual assault, of the crime. So why we keep going back to that repeatedly throughout the course of the investigation is something that needs to change.
What is the right time here? Considering a film industry, I think the actors do not have a particular time schedule. They have night shoots, they have morning shoots, late night shoots, and they spend most of their time with the drivers and the makeup men. So if such a thing is going to happen in a very, very reputed industry, how accurate or how much are we assuring that such an incident will not happen in the future with the other actors?
And it's not just the film industry, it's actually every working woman for that matter.
Yeah, even in the Silicon Valley, I mean, Uber is reputedly famous for not revealing its diversity numbers. I mean, recently the Uber boss, Travis Kalanick, revealed that the 15% of women work in Uber, but this is not...
it's not verified because they haven't really released
exactly.
any data.
He has promised it will be released like in a few days for like this, but it's also coming after Susan J. Fowler pointed to the issue. Like, why not reveal it before the accusations were made? I mean, it's very shady.
The sexism, like I completely understand it's not verified. The blog isn't verified, but the sexism is very blatant.
Yeah.
So it would be great if such data was released and it was available to the public.
Sexism is blatant because I think in this case only they talk about some leather jackets issue.
Oh, that reaches another level, and I don't know how to believe it or not, but considering it's Silicon Valley, I mean, it's entirely possible. The amount of money they make, I mean, jeez.
So yeah, I think before media, starts cooking up these kind of stories, they need a proper fact checking and consider the emotions of the victim also before putting up such nonsense.
Alright, I think there's a lot more discussion required on this issue. The investigation of such cases need to be fast-tracked and the limelight should be dimmed on the victims. Signing out, this is Sonakshi, Sumedha, Vaishali and Soumyajit, ACG Newspaper.